So that happens, and then when at that time my brother was at school and my sister was out. She wasn't home. She was out. So my brother came home from school and I put the little Jordans inside a box, and when he got home, I'm like, look, brother, I have a gift for you. Because his birthday was in November too. I said, I have an early birthday gift for you. I'm like, look in the box. So when he opened the box, he saw the little shoes. And he's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be an uncle. So he was super excited. And then we waited. And then when my sister came home, I also put the shoes back in the box and the pregnancy paper on top. The proof. And then she gets home and I'm like, look, sister, I have a present for you. And she opens the box and she sees the paper, but I think she's probably like, what the heck's going on? But when I handed her the box, I said, look, sister, I said, I have this special gift for you. Sorry. I said, I have this special gift for you. So you could play with it, have fun with it, feed it. You're going to have so much fun. And so in her head, other things were going on. What is this? And she didn't see the pregnancy test. Like, she didn't really pay attention to it. She just moved the paper and she goes, when she saw the shoes. And she just starts crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? And she goes, I thought it was a puppy. She thought she was getting a puppy because she wanted a puppy. And yeah, your tia thought you were a puppy. She thought she was getting a puppy. Dile, ay, tia, you crazy, tia. Back to the HTC level blood work. I had to wait until Tuesday to get the results. And she calls me and she finally called me and I'm like, oh, I feel like I could finally breathe. So she calls me and she tells me, oh, you know what? Your levels went up, and they went up more than normal. Like, they just shot up. So she's like, I think when you had that negative test was because you were very early in your pregnancy. So, like, I felt so much relief when she told me that. But she said, I still want you to go for that ultrasound because, the bleeding, the spotting, those really bad pains, that's still not normal for it to be that bad. So, but by her telling me that the levels had gone up, I was so, like, excited. I was just so happy. And then I told my husband and he was like, oh, like, thank God. Everything's like, okay. Like, that means the pregnancy's progressing. My mom, my dad, everybody was happy. By then, I still hadn't told my in-laws. I was waiting to do another test because my husband was like, no, let's just wait so we could do like a nice reveal. So then I went to go get my ultrasound, and again, my husband had to work, so my mom went with me. Well, before that, I had to go, but my mom couldn't go with me. My husband had to work, so I asked my cousin, one of my cousins, her name is Patty, I'm like, can you take me? Because by then, they wanted to see if there was a heartbeat. I mean, it was progressing, but, we still wanted to make sure the baby was where it was supposed to. And when they did the ultrasound, it was with the old machine where I had gone because my insurance hadn't kicked in, so I couldn't go to like a better place. So my cousin took me and she went in with me, and when they did the ultrasound, I expected to see like a baby, and all I saw was a little dot. It was like a little itty bitty dot, like a little rice. And then I'm just like, is there a heartbeat? Like, she's like, I can't hear nothing, so she kind of scared me. And then she's like, you can't hear nothing because it's so early, but I could see a little heart beating. And the baby is inside where it's supposed to be. And she's like, and everything from here, everything looks fine. So, wow. It's like no words could explain what I felt. I just cried because I was so scared. I was already thinking the worst. But, we won. Like, everything I prayed for every night, like, it was coming true. Like, I'm gonna be a mom. I don't have to worry about anything no more. You know, I was still wondering what was wrong with the bleeding, why I was having the pain. But I'm like, my baby's where it's supposed to be, and my baby has a heartbeat. Like, thank you, God. That was the first thing I thought. Thank you. Thank you so much for this blessing. So I came home with my little ultrasound. I remember I texted my husband. I was like, look, our little bean. Like, it's so little. It's there. And we were happy. And then, like, by then, I'm like, okay, we went to my mother-in-law's. And I told my husband, should we tell her your mom? Because your mom was worried. She kept asking me, what's going on? Like, how are you feeling? Is everything okay? Have you gone to the doctor? So I told him, I feel bad because your mom's like worried. So should we tell her? He goes, yeah, let's tell her. So I'm like, guess what? And she goes, what? I'm like, you're going to be a grandma for the 7th time. And she was so excited. My mother-in-law had been asking us for a few months too, like, when are you guys having a baby? I think it's about time you guys have a baby. So she was very happy. So by then we kind of felt like it was okay to tell other people. And I remember we also told my sister-in-law Erica, because she was also texting me constantly, like, are you okay? Do you need, to go to the doctor? Do you need a ride? What's going on? So we told her because we didn't want her to like stress about it, and also for them to know what was going on. So that was that part. So then I went, like I said, my insurance kicked in and I went for another ultrasound. And at this point I just went with my mom because my husband was working. So we go and they did more high-tech ultrasound because we were still trying to figure out why the bleeding and the pain, why was that going on. And then the doctor told me I shouldn't be showing you this because this is like an urgent ultrasound. It's not your regular ultrasound. She's like, but I want you to see. She's like, calm down, because I had told her I was scared and everything that was going on. She's like, you need to calm down, Mom. She's like, everything's going to be okay. So in the big monitor right in front of me, she showed me my baby. And by then it was like another 2 more weeks. And so I was like like around 2 months or around there, because everything took so much time. Like, I kept waiting for appointments. And I saw my baby move. It was jumping around. The heartbeat she showed me, we still couldn't hear it, but she showed me. And she's like, that's your baby. It's perfectly fine. Like, nothing's wrong. And then they kept checking, and then I got a little bit scared because she called another tech in, and I think she forgot that she didn't turn the monitor on, the off, I mean. And when she scanned to the side, I saw an extra little sack, but there was nothing in there. It was separate. And she told the other tech, do you see that? And then the other one goes, yeah, I see it, but there's nothing in there. Like, it's just empty, and it's measuring smaller than the other one. So at that moment my heart's just racing, and I'm like, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, everything's okay, don't worry. She's like, I'm just sorry we can't discuss anything with you. You will have to wait till your doctor reaches out to you, but you'll be fine. Your baby's fine. Just wait for your doctor to discuss everything else with you, because we can't. But I'm like, why is there another sack in there? So I started looking up online other things, and I'm like, could it have been that I was having 2? And I remember I went to my doctor within like, I think 2 days or 3 days, and I was waiting for her to tell me. She just went, well, your baby measured this, the heart rate was fine, everything was more accurate. She's like, has your bleeding stopped? I'm like, yeah, my bleeding stopped, the pain stopped, like, I'm fine. And then I was waiting for her to say something else, because for a tech to call another one in and then whispering, and they kind of had this worried face, like, it scared me, and I wanted to know what was going on. And then when I looked it up, 2 sacks mean 2 babies, but one was empty. So I'm like, what's going on? And then the doctor, I switched doctors, because the one I got, when I brought it up, I'm like, when they did the ultrasound, I saw that there was 2 sacks. And then she goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so there was 2 sacs. Yeah, but one was empty. There was nothing in there. And I'm like, well, then does that mean that's why I was having bleeding and the pain? And I'm like, because I looked online, I told her that I could have, since it was early in my pregnancy, I miscarried 1 baby, but my body absorbed it. And that's why I had bleeding, a little bit of bleeding. That's why I had the pain. But my other baby's fine and progressing. And she goes, yeah, your other baby's fine. Don't worry about it. And she's like, sometimes like that, your body just absorbs it. And that's all she told me. And I'm like, so it was going to be 2. And she's like, but there's only 1. Like, and I was just so mad because nobody was answering my questions. So then I started crying. I'm like, well, then maybe that's what was happening, you know? And when we left, I told her, I don't want that doctor no more. I want another doctor, because she was so rude. She had to discuss with me what was in my paperwork. I had the right to it. And she was just like repeating or agreeing with what I was saying, but making me feel stupid. And so after that, everything was fine. And yeah, matter of fact, when I had my next appointment and I asked the new doctor, you know, this happened, can you look at my records? And even she told me, she was like, yeah, she's like, sometimes that's very normal, you know. She's like, sometimes 2 babies develop, but very, very early. She's like, you found out you were pregnant very early, even before the pregnancy test read it. So it's very common that sometimes moms who have twins, one of the babies either doesn't develop or stops developing at a very, very early stage. She said, which is what happened in your case. She said that's why one of the water sacs was smaller, because that's when it either, you know, stopped growing, but because it was still like in the cell phase, like 2-3 weeks, your body was easily to absorb it, but that was spotting. That's why you had spotting, and that's why you had that really bad pain. But your other baby's okay due to the fact that it was 2 different sacs. So your cervix didn't have to open to dispose of, you know, another baby, and also because it wasn't developed further along, being bigger. So when she told me that, I felt more at peace, you know, because that means that it was going to be 2. So little Miss Princess over here was going to have a little twin. There, knowing that everything was fine, that my baby was fine, that my pain was gone, my bleeding was gone. She had a perfect little heartbeat. She was growing perfectly fine. I like had a break, and I felt like I could finally enjoy my pregnancy, and that we could share the news with everybody. So we decided to share with my husband's side of the family on Christmas Day. So we had like a little sack, and my sister-in-law was our accomplice. She helped us make it seem like she didn't know whose it was from. It was a special delivery, and we opened it in front of his immediate family, and you'll get to see that next. And then on New Year's, we shared it with my side of the family, and everybody was in a circle, and I pulled out my ultrasound and told them, you know, that we're expecting a baby. And you can see that too. And so yeah, that basically concludes how I found out I was pregnant, how I felt, all that stuff. Now, somebody asked me how I found out, how did I feel when I found out she was a girl? Oh my goodness. I was so excited. I really wanted a girl. I cried, and I still couldn't believe it. And after that, every ultrasound, I always asked, can you check if it's a girl? Is it still a girl? Like, I wanted a princess so bad, and I got my little princess. So I'm so happy for that. So now my birth story, that was one that a lot of people were asking. So I had a blood condition, or should I say I have a blood condition called ITP, which causes me to bruise easily, have thinner blood, and causes me to bleed more than normal, because like a blood thinner, and my body doesn't clot fast. So I was high risk for that for my pregnancy, my whole pregnancy. I would go in the hospital 2 days a week to get infusions of platelets. So they had told me that in my case, it was safer to deliver my baby early. If it wasn't that she could have came by herself early, they had told me that I had to be like in bed rest because she could come on her own at 6 to 7 months. Thankfully, that didn't happen. They were awesome doctors and nurses, awesome staff I had throughout my whole pregnancy. Very nice people, and we made it to 8 months. So at 8 months, I got induced. I submitted in the hospital on a Thursday evening, and they started me off with the medicine that said it was to thin out my cervix. So they gave me that for 24 hours. So those first 24 hours, it was like a piece of cake. I wasn't feeling nothing. And then that night, and that was until Friday. So then Friday night, they started me with, what's the medicine called? Pitocin. They started me with Pitocin, which Pitocin is to start the contractions because the contractions are what help you dilate. So they gave me Pitocin around 9 to 10 p.m. I remember, and that's when I'm like, oh, I don't feel nothing, but they told me we're gonna monitor you. You might start feeling something soon, so we'll see. And then I remember that night, my mom wanted to spend the night, and I'm like, no, Mom, go home. I'll stay with my husband. Like, you know what? The doctor had told me you could be in here up to a week. Because this is so early on, your body's not ready to have a baby yet, so this might take days. I sent my mom home and I stayed with my husband. So I remember clearly, it was 4 in the morning, like 4:10 around there. And I woke up to have this really bad cramp, but it hurt all the way in my back. And what woke me up was that I had to gasp for air. I was like, that was painful. And then I looked at the monitor and I saw the contraction thing go up and down. I'm like, oh my goodness, that was strong. I'm like, but it's normal because they told me I was going to start feeling it. So then I try to lay back down, and like, kid you not, 4 or 5 minutes, another one. And then this one, I remember I cringed a little bit and I shook my body. I'm like, oh, that was painful. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then by then the nurse walked in and she's like, are you okay? She's like, you're getting stronger contractions. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I just felt 2 really, really bad. And she's like, on our monitor, she's like, you've been getting them, but I think barely now, like, you're feeling it more. She's like, but you're getting them every 4 to 5 minutes. So this baby might come soon. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But I still didn't want to wake up my husband. He was asleep. And I was just trying not to make any noise. And then she left and she's like, if you need me, just press the button and I'll come in. Same if you want medication, if you feel like it gets stronger so we could check you. So I'm like, okay, it's fine. And I was trying to cope with the pain. And then they kept coming. And I remember after that, I was holding on to the bed side with like both of my hands and squeezing it every contraction. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It was only like my lower back that was hurting really bad, and like my upper part of my belly, like I was just getting super hard all the way down, and I was out of breath. So I was getting them every 4 to 5 minutes. I was checking the monitor, and mind you, I started like 4 in the morning. So I woke up my husband like around 6 because that's when like I wanted to cry. It was so strong. I was out of breath. And I'm like, wake up. I'm like, help me. I want to walk around. Like, they're coming harder. And I'm like, but I don't want to call my mom yet. So he stood me up. And when I stood up, I felt my legs. Like, I couldn't move. When I got a contraction, I couldn't move. Like, I just stayed there and I curled in a ball. And I felt like the strength on my legs was going away after. Like, they were numbing up. So I'm like, no, I need to sit down. And by then I'm like, you know what? My contractions are coming in every 4 to 5 minutes, and the nurse told me that this baby could come soon. I told him, and I feel my pains, they're getting stronger. Like, I'm at the point now where I'm like hyperventilating. So I'm like, I'm gonna call my mom. So I call my mom, like, Mom, I think this baby's coming now. Like, my contractions are really bad. They're every 4 to 5 minutes, and the nurse told me, that they could happen. They could happen soon. Oh, you're falling asleep, Mama. You're falling asleep. Okay. And they told me these contractions. Oh, I feel so bad. I wasn't looking at her. My contractions were coming fast, so I called my mom, and they rushed to the hospital. By like 7, they were there. And then it was my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, and my husband in the hospital. And then around, what was it? Maybe around 8:30 or 9, that my mom was already there. She started rubbing my back. She took me out for a walk. I was still trying to cope with no medication. By like, I'd say maybe 10:30, my contractions got stronger. Now they were every 2 to 3 minutes. And by that point, yeah, I was crying. And I'm like, don't touch me. Don't talk to me. You know what? Don't even look at me. Just let me bear with my pain. Close the curtain. And I told my mom, I had warned her. I'm like, don't come and say, pobrecita, hi, mija, it's okay. Don't baby me. Because if you baby me, you're going to make me cry more. You're going to like weaken me or give me more emotional. I'm like, I don't want you doing that. Just rub my back. Don't say nothing. And same thing to my husband. I'm like, don't you guys baby me. Just let me be, okay? Give me my space. And my mom was rubbing my back, and everybody was like behind the curtain. And then by then, the baby's Nina showed up. Doris, one of her Ninas, she showed up, so she was there. And then my grandpa showed up too, and so everybody was in the room. And I was just like, don't talk, like, I don't want to be mean, but I just don't want nobody to talk, like, just let me bear with my pain. So I think it got to like noon, and by that point the nurse came in, and like I said, my contractions were already every 2-3 minutes. I couldn't do it no more. I couldn't breathe. My back was hurting so bad. I wasn't comfortable walking or standing or sitting on the ball. I just couldn't do it. And I'm like, you know what? Like, this pain is so strong. Like, can I get something? I'm like, I don't want the epidural, but something like in the IV. I'm like, because I'm trying. I'm like, and I can't. And another reason why I didn't want medication was because, like the anesthesia and pain meds, they would lower my platelet levels, and that was bad too. So the doctor told me it was better if I went through birth without pain medicine. But trust me, I couldn't do it. Imagine that, since 4 in the morning, first every 4 to 5 minutes, and now every 2 to 3 minutes. So she said, okay, if we see them in the monitor. If you feel like you can't bear with it, we need to check you to see if you've dilated enough for us to give you some type of medication. So I said, okay. And maybe like 30 minutes passed by, and when the nurse comes in and checks me, and I'm here expecting they're going to say, you're 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters, at least, And then they go, oh, you're only fingertip. And I'm like, fingertip? I'm like, how much is that? I don't know what they say. And then they go, it's not even 1 centimeter.